So there's a lot to talk about. A lot has happened in the last few
few
months.
things,
A few
yes.
things.
Yeah.
If you go back a year to where you were, where you thought things were going to go politically, could you have predicted or guessed that we would be where we are right now?
No way. I mean, I get paid to do things like that, Billy. I mean, that's what I do for the Blaze. It's what I do for candidates and causes around the country. There's no way I could have scripted out the outcome of Donald Trump avoiding 94 felony indictments. And one of them, the January 6th, the infamous Judge Chutkan court in D.C. that, put how many grandmothers and grandpas in prison because they dared to, walk into a Capitol that they subsidize when they were invited to by the cops. Not saying there wasn't anybody that didn't deserve to go to prison there, but certainly a huge amount of prosecutorial overreach. And so now Trump is in the hands of that court too. There's just the idea that he would have missed an assassin's bullet face on
by
a millimeter.
Wild. Would you call that miraculous?
100%.
Okay.
I mean, I would not call the attempt miraculous. I thought it was absolutely orchestrated.
But the turning of the head.
But the turning of the head and just how it barely missed by a millimeter, and who knows what the future of Western civilization is at that moment. And frankly, because I didn't think it was possible to humanly navigate those scenarios, that was a big reason why I supported Ron DeSantis in the primary. I thought for our belief system, this was a must-win election. Republicans had not had a lot of luck recently winning elections. The guy in Florida had shown that he knows how to win them. And I just didn't think it was possible for Trump to run for president from prison, from under house arrest at Mar-a-Lago. I'm convinced that what we saw this last year, 100%, we watched spiritual warfare play out in the natural realm. I mean, we saw the unseen realm play out in the natural realm. And, I think that you can have an anointing or be anointed. I don't necessarily think they're the same thing, okay? But I've just come to the conclusion, and I don't mean this in a creepy name it or claim it, word of faith kind of way, okay? But I just, I think we have to understand the signs of the times. I just think it's pretty clear, for whatever reason, that God has just chosen Donald Trump as a man for this time. Yeah. And I think at this point, to deny that evidence, I think it takes more. You're Dana Scully now on the X-Files. It takes more leaps of faith to deny little green men than it does to be Fox Mulder at this point.
I mean, the turning of the head was the thing for me.
Yeah,
that really,
same for me.
And when I talked to people,
I went out and got a Trump sign in my yard for the first time in 8 years.
And you were not a Trump fan? I mean,
no.
You were not a Trump fan?
No, I mean, I've gone from, I was one of the first people Trump offered a job to in his very first race.
I did not know that.
Because I lived in Iowa.
How did I not know this?
Yeah, and I mean, I got a call one day out of the blue in 2013, unknown number. And in our line of work, unknown number means you owe somebody money or it's really good,
yeah.
right? So I answer it every time because I err on the side of go big or go home, and I pick it up, and Steve Deace had my name wrong. It's Donald Trump. And I'm like, am I being trolled? But no, I mean, he wanted to run for president. He clearly got good advice of who to talk to in Iowa. And for the next couple of years, I mean, I had a relationship. He was on my show quite a bit. He endorsed my very first wide release book, Rules for Patriots. He actually had me ghostwrite the endorsement, send it to him for approval. And I wrote my own Donald Trump endorsement. But as that caucus campaign went on that first time, in fact, if you remember the infamous event at the Family Leader Summit when he said, I like POWs that don't get captured.
Yes.
And, I was never a John McCain fan, all right? But, my wife's lifelong military, my father-in-law was still alive, 101st Airborne, and I just thought, I can't support that. And I ended up, helping to oversee Ted Cruz's Iowa campaign instead. And so I've kind of had every position on Donald Trump on the right you can have over the years and not lose your mind, okay, or your soul. And I've just come to the conclusion now that it's clearly that for whatever reason, the Lord has intended him to be the man for this time. And I think to deny that evidence, especially after July 13th, is just to deny reality in front of you.
So let's talk about this time, because right now things have shifted. They've shifted rapidly and bizarrely in some ways, whether it's DEI. I mean, you go down the list of all these issues, gender confusion, the way that that's being handled. When you look at that, there are a lot of people who are like, this is great, like we're having these victories. Do you have any cautions or advice to Christians as they're navigating that? Because you can become very complacent when that happens, right?
Yeah, 100%. And it might not be advice that you've heard anywhere else, okay? For the last, I would call this the Bill Hybels, Rick Warren Gospel Coalition era. They were, Hybels and Warren and Osteen were essentially the popes of American evangelicalism for the last 25, 30 years. And over that time, everybody, I wanted to make sure I got a cover profile on Christianity Today. And to do that, there's a specific, and Christian radio, uplifting and hope-filled, has a Margaret or a Lois, all right? And this is the woman, quasi-woke, neoliberal, beta husband, lives in a cul-de-sac, drives a Subaru, has a coexist bumper sticker on it that says next to it, mean people suck. And you're laughing because you know what I'm saying is true. That this has been the target audience of the American evangelical church on every platform for the last 30 years. And we've effeminized our churches and our messaging. The idea that things have to be done in 20 minutes because, well, mom's on schedule and she's got to get the kids out of the nursery and everything else. And so because of that, we have lost an entire generation of young men. And there's a cautionary tale about the rise of MAGA and Trump for the church. And it is that MAGA has become the church for young men in America. Now, there are some benefits to that, all right? It's teaching young men to take initiative. I look at what my buddy Charlie Kirk has done with young men at Turning Point USA. I don't know that anybody in America has a larger audience of young men than he currently does. And given the message he has for young men, I'm excited about that, okay? But we also have to remember, and this is something that Charlie does as well, but he's unique in that, okay? He's unique in MAGA in that. Ultimately, you can be as based as you want to be, okay? But if you're on the wrong side of the gospel, there are founding fathers that are in hell too. There are men that signed the Declaration of Independence. We thank them for our country, never repented of their sins. There's not an America first wing of heaven.
It doesn't save you.
It doesn't save you, okay? It might save a country, and I'm fine signing up and enlisting in that fight, and I am. But ultimately, if we don't have Great Awakening level revivals, it's not a coincidence we had Great Awakening level revival, and then we had liberty. For where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty, right? 2 Corinthians. It's not a coincidence that it happened in that order. Because the church has largely decided to major in Hawaiian shirts, pleated khakis, and sweater vests. We're doing this in our era. We're doing it in the wrong order.
Yeah.
We're having cultural confrontation and upheaval before awakening.
Well, and you're starting to see these pockets of like these mini revivals, and people are debating about it, right? Is this a revival? Is it, whatever terminology you want to use? The fact you go to a college and 7,000 kids show up, people can say they're over emotional, they can say whatever they want, but the reality is they're showing up, and 2,000 of them are accepting Christ. That's
my point is, it's time for the church to go after Derek, to go after Daryl, to go after David. All right.
Yeah.
And we cannot have young men. They're going to be evangelized or discipled by something. Even the best of political movements cannot disciple our young men. And that's where we run into situations where now we're going to go, there's no such thing as toxic masculinity, all right? All male behavior that is not masculine is what is toxic, okay? But if my job is to become a Bronze Age pagan, all right, that's not the biblical identity of a definition of patriarchy or male headship or leadership. And so this is now where the church needs to step in, recognize that the growing market, all those Karens that you tried to evangelize for the last 30 years are all the people that just voted against you. They're all the people that voted for the politicians to send you to prison for wrong think and for praying outside abortion clinics. The target demo that we have to have, and the gospel's for everybody, but we have left an entire generation of young men behind, Billy, and we need to do a make good. We have to go back as the church now and realize, how did these guys get these instincts? Because we've not taken discipling them seriously for a generation. That meant they didn't get these instincts from us. And that means we need to go in and fill in a very necessary component of the gospel. Otherwise, you're going to have the French Revolution and not the American Revolution. And the French Revolution always ends every time. In my history books, it ends with a reign of terror every time.
Well, and when you have these little pockets of revival, there's evidence that people want the truth, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you have there's craving.
They're
for
already
the truth.
showing the righteous instincts that something's not right. Things are crazy. Things are immoral.
Even politically, that's what's going on, right?
Yes. They're actually, in many respects, these unchurched young men are ahead of where the church is in the current spiritual war. And the church needs to catch up and then retroactively go back and disciple.
Yeah, get the order correct. Okay, where can people find you? Where can they listen to you?
Easiest thing to do, just follow me on X. It's the largest platform in the world, doesn't censor people like me every day. So just at Steve Deace Show on X, and links to our podcast and our show on the Blaze and all the other stuff that we do year round is up there every day.
I love it. Well, thank you for your time. Really appreciate it.
You got it. God bless.